GWATA TV gives you a first look at North Central Washington's business news. You'll hear from our local business, tech, and education companies as Jenny discusses hot topics and current events with some of the best innovators and pioneers in North Central Washington.
Hello, North Central Washington, and welcome to GWATA TV. I'm your host, Jenny Rojanasthien, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. On today's episode of GWATA TV, I'll be interviewing SkeeterBuggins Productions and talking about how they're transforming normal business events, nonprofit events, theater events into virtual experiences because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've got an action-packed segment today, so I'm going to keep this intro short. Stay tuned. We'll be right back in the studio. Hello, North Central Washington, and welcome back to GWATA TV. We are on air today with Jarod Breshears from SkeeterBuggins Productions. Welcome to the show, Jarod.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on air. This is your turn to be in front of the camera,
Yeah.
which I know is a little different from you. We're going to get into your world here in a minute, but you're normally the man behind the camera.
Yes, I am. This is a whole new adventure for me, actually. I avoid the camera, being in front of it for passion, so this will be interesting.
Well, your company is fantastic. You've got a really unique story, so time to highlight that today. Let's talk a little bit first about you, though, for our audience at home. What's your story and your background?
Well, I'm 37 years old. I'm actually a young guy in this field. And to be as active as I have been, it wows a lot of people. Pre-pandemic, I'll phrase it that way, I had a split career where half the time I was doing my business. Another half the time I was working as a professional television freelancer, where I traveled all around the Western U.S., working for ESPN, Fox. I'm the graphics operator for the home shows at Gonzaga for men's basketball, for TV. And
so freelance video work, how did that get started? So you've got a background in education in video production?
Well, my education, I went to the U of I. Okay. I got degrees in broadcasting and music.
Okay.
And so I started working at the U of I video production department when I was a student. And we did the home football broadcasts. And how I fell into TV was at Washington State University, their in-house video production, they had to fire their graphics operator. And they needed someone quick, and I ran the graphics for U of I football TV. And so they called me up. I started working for them. The director of that had connections with TV because he was wowed by how quickly I picked it up. So he connected me with, then was Fox Sports Northwest. And kind of the rest is history. I started working a game here and there, and then people started noticing. I started doing more, and there was one year I think I did 120 games on the TV side, and I've been working that consistently till the COVID pandemic hit when everything shut down. So.
Well, it's pretty impressive to be in college and immediately working with a major news network and their affiliates. Mm-hmm. So kudos to you. Brought you a lot of experience. Mm-hmm. Let's fast forward to, when did you decide, in addition to the freelance work you're doing, to start your own company and be an entrepreneur?
Well, it was 2006 is when SkeeterBuggins was founded, and it was kind of, I call it dumb luck. Okay. I was in college, I was a student. One of the professors at the music school knew I was a broadcast student, and knew I was developing this video background, and he had a major reunion for the choir at U of I, the Vandaliers. And he was like, hey, I want some video coverage of this. You can make some money, sell some DVDs to the people who attend. And I was like, I got all excited. I was like, wow, this is like the first business gig I've had. This is cool. But wait, I want to be legit. I don't want to just be Jarod Breshears videographer. I need to have a name that's cool. So I was trying to figure out a name, and my dad came to me. He goes, hey, why don't you call yourself SkeeterBuggins Productions? Because I used to call you SkeeterBuggins as a baby, and that's a pretty unique name. And I remember him calling me that, so it had to have been when I was a baby. And I was like, you know what, that's a unique name, I'll roll with it. I thought it'd be like a one-time thing, but it caught on. People don't forget it, and they're always intrigued by it, so it's stuck, and now I've had it for 14 years.
I love that you took a family name and something sentimental, put it on your business, and well, kudos to you. 14 years later, you're not only doing one-time small events, now you have a full production company. So let's dive into that. What services does SkeeterBuggins Productions provide?
Well, mainly what we specialize in is event video production. We do a little bit of small commercial, private projects, but our bread and butter is with event video production. And I'm going to relate it to pre-pandemic and post-pandemic for you, because leading up to the pandemic, our specialty was remote production, where we could go on site, multiple cameras, a whole portable little production studio, and we could produce an event live and have an end product right at the end of the production, ready to go.
Like graduation ceremonies,
yes.
Right? So you were streaming it was happening live, right, with hundreds of people, but for people at home or couldn't come. Right.
So our biggest client with graduations was Eastern Washington University. We've been their production company for commencement. I just saw this yesterday, since 2012. And we've been streaming their commencement since 2015.
Okay.
And so we did the streaming aspect, but a lot of our productions, a lot of the clients didn't want the streaming. They just wanted an end product for their consumers, so like dance companies, theater companies, like that. We did some corporate business conferences, but it wasn't as big a emphasis for groups. When the pandemic hit, end product production really went by the wayside, and everyone was like, oh, people can't attend our events, we need to figure out how to stream. And so what we offer now is the new term, the virtual event, where we've worked with several groups already, where instead of the in-person gala, they are doing the virtual gala. And so we produce a full program. Instead of like a 3-hour in-person gala, they end up being like 45 minutes to an hour. It covers all the components that they would have in their normal gala, but it's just attended virtually. And what's been interesting about it, a lot of these organizations, they're scared of it beforehand. But when they finish it and they see the results, they are actually achieving better results because they have an expanded reach with the virtual than they did ever in person. And that's been the interesting thing in this process, is like I had a client I talked to a couple days ago, it ran a fundraiser for him. Their previous high was 50,000. And they set a goal, okay, we're going to try for 100,000 this year, see what happens. And on their night, they raised 82,000 on the night alone.
That's incredible. With no people there, with no attendees.
Right. It was, and their particular event, they ran it all on Zoom. So the attendees were there in Zoom. We were running our production screen. There was an auctioneer MC, and it was a very good event.
Wildly successful. Well, we're going to talk about some of those success stories in our second segment, but for our audience, let's show a few photos. What does it look like for you to set up on your side for some of these virtual events?
Okay, so this is in the studio. This particular event we did recently was for Gonzaga University. Their theater department was a 10-minute play festival, which is an all-student-run event. And we ran the entire show out of there. So to describe it a little bit, all the actors were on Zoom, the directors were on Zoom. We're switching, we had 3 separate Zoom channels that were mixing together, and they're using virtual backdrops, and we're producing sound for them. And it created 10-minute plays. Granted, they're all virtual, but it was really a unique show. It was really cool.
And in some of the other photos here.
So this picture is from October 3rd. We did live streamed the symphony, the Wenatchee Valley Symphony, out of the PAC, which will air, I think it's aired recently on NCW Life right here.
Perfect. Love that.
And this one, we actually took still the remote production, and we went to the PAC and set up there and streamed out of the PAC for that show. And even on this, we had to put into consideration, okay, we have to have a pre-show, we have to have some structure to it, like a live program. So.
Well, what I love about this and your other events, you're also bringing art and theater to life, which is an industry really, really decimated during
Yes.
COVID. Really decimated.
And I can tell you this, the symphony had tremendous success with this. They were seen, so instead of just in Wenatchee, the symphony got exposed to 12 states.
Through the online views.
Yeah, which was, I mean, that's the biggest thing with the virtual event is, and going virtual, is you expand your reach as an organization. That's great. So this is another still from the 10-minute festival, just showing the multi-view out of the switcher we're doing. So you could see right there a graphic, and that happens to be the director's Zoom feed, because in that production, the director's introduced to each play. So this photo was taken recently at the Chamber of Commerce, so it's another live remote we did for a little setup, where we did forums of the federal level and local level of candidates for election this year. And this last photo, it was another event we did with Gonzaga. So the 10-minute play festival was part of Gonzaga Family Weekend, which is kind of their version of like Mom's Weekend or Dad's Weekend, is my understanding of it. And this is taken at the Myrtle Woodson Theater in Spokane on campus, and this is of the 60 by 60 dance festival they did, where they actually performed in masks dances, where they do 1-minute dances 60 times.
Wow.
And we live streamed that, where we intermixed what they call screen dances. So they're pre-recorded dances and live dances at the same time. And you can see 2 of my Spokane camera guys back there in the background.
Awesome. Well, Jarod, thank you for walking us through some of those photos, and for the audience to get some context in terms of what that technology looks like. We're going to head out to a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to be here with SkeeterBuggins Productions at the NCW Life Studios, talking about Flywheel and some other events Jarod has worked on. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to GWATA TV. We have been talking with SkeeterBuggins Productions about your company, virtual events, what's been happening since COVID. Right before we went to commercial break, we saw some examples of productions that you've been doing, from the Wenatchee Symphony to the Wenatchee Valley Chamber to Gonzaga. Jarod, you and I got a chance to work together earlier this year, and that's how we first met. Brought you into the GWATA membership and the GWATA family. GWATA has an annual event called the Flywheel Investment Conference. It was scheduled for April. And when the world felt like it was kind of falling apart this last spring, we were in a real pickle to take our 300-person event and try to figure out how to bring it online, which I'm really pleased. Long story short, you did it. You
Yep.
really helped us.
Yep.
But let's talk about that as far as what that looked like, to just kind of give a real life example. Before we go into the details, I do want to set it up for the audience. So the Flywheel Investment Conference is GWATA's annual event, happens every spring since 2018, where startups compete for angel investment dollars. These are dollars put up by local investors in the Flywheel Angel Network. And we've got a few photos to give you some context. So we're going to start here back in 2018. This is the first Flywheel conference. This is Will Clausen with Cartogram. It's an enterprise indoor-outdoor wayfinding. So imagine you're inside of a hospital and you need to get to cardiology. You can look at your phone and it will help walk you through the maze of a hospital.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing software. And Will won the first Flywheel Investment Conference, over $100,000 for his company. In 2019, in our next photo here, we have Virginia Emery with Beta Hatch, walked away with over $130,000 in funding. They are industrializing the insect agriculture within a regenerative food system. So Beta Hatch has actually moved from SeaTac since 2019 and is located in Kashmir. So really cool that this company not only won investment dollars from the Angel Network, but actually ended up moving over to North Central Washington. And then we move into, of course, 2020. And so here's a photo from the New America Performing Arts Center of the 6 entrepreneurs who were set to compete for this year's $125,000. These startups came from across Washington State in a variety of industries. And they were set to really showcase their business in front of 300 people. Instead, we did it online. And so as you see in these next photos here, these are kind of a clip of the entrepreneurs that SkeeterBuggins Productions helped us film and stream out to a live audience for free. We held it for free. Anyone could come on and watch as they tried to win over the investors' hearts and money for the $125,000. We had another local success. In this photo here, you can see Ag Tools, which is a real-time market data. So they're a SaaS company for the agriculture industry, and they were this year's winners. They have a Wenatchee location, so really fun to have that local success. I do want to, since we're talking about Flywheel, give you a little insight into Ag Tools and highlight their story, and also Jarod's video work. So this is a clip from the 2020 Flywheel Investment Conference, which was presented by Moss Adams, Ogden Murphy Wallace, Microsoft, and Confluence Health.
I have the privilege of now introducing the next company in the Flywheel competition, Ag Tools from Wenatchee, Washington. Please welcome founder and CEO Martha Montoya to the stage.
Good morning, my name is Martha Montoya and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ag Tools, and today with me is my brother and CTO of Ag Tools, Gustavo Montoya. Ag Tools, as software as a service, is a food supply chain problem, a global challenge that we have. And through the whole presentation, you'll hear who I am and why this tool exists. We thought farm to table was easy, and we just didn't understand how it worked until now, C19. Imagine every day you wake up in the morning and you're ready to go home to start with your day, and you need all this data of information. Simple thing, even as the weather patterns and the traffic. But imagine it doesn't exist. Imagine that that's what the farmer has every single day. They're harvesting without knowing what the data or what's going to happen, and they're scrambling around to find information that is valuable for them. 67 variables impact at any time a farmer, anywhere in the world, anywhere in any commodity. Well, guess what? It's not only farmer. The supply chain in general has lived this too. They have no data accessible for them to make decisions in seconds, which is what this industry is all about. And it's the same 67 variables that we were talking about. We now know that the food supply chain is completely misaligned, is complex, is uncertain. And we know that every single member of that supply chain, or every actor, is crucial but it's also a very thin margin industry. So we have decided that not only the variables that impact any of them are important, but they move around depending on their needs. The other issue that we have is the new generations coming and the baby boomers returning our industry. So there's not enough knowledge being left behind to be able to manage this whole new industry. So that is causing a lot of food waste across the world. In the United States, over 4,900 truckloads per day. And with the C-19, you're going to see the numbers rise because of the supply chain. So we decided to put together a dashboard of data from all over the world, governmental and entities, and put it in a real time. And what happened is that we're called the Reuters or the Bloombergs of the industry. I'll explain how it works. A farmer looks at our data, sees how the market is behaving in different parts of the industry or the market, calls the buyer or the distributor, explains or tells them what's going on, and then they reroute those trucks or those purchase orders, and now the farmer is going to make extra money. But let's look at the other side. Now you have a buyer who needs product for fresh product on time from certain regions. They can check out what's going on, what are the weather patterns, calls the farmer or the farming operation, and make sure that they have product in order to be able to have stock, which is the #1 problem in the retail industry. Now Gustavo is going to explain how this works.
Thank you, Martha. Hello, everyone. Yes, Actus collects data from 30-plus sources, both at the USA level and global, government agencies, universities, and many other data sets publicly. And we collect this data and put it together with our proprietary system, Apex, which has the phenological phases for fruits and vegetables. All that together, we have it and manage it at our engineering in-house here in Wenatchee with engineers from Chelan and Wenatchee, great engineers, and work with the team to come up with our solution. And ta-da, here is our solution, Actools.
I love this video clip because highlights a little bit of the Actool story. This is actually about a 15-minute presentation, so if people want to see more, definitely go to the GWATA YouTube page or website and you get linked out to it. Let's just briefly talk about Flywheel before we head out for the day. We had no format to go online, and we took an event that had 250 to 300 people, and you helped us reach 1,500 live attendees that day. With this in mind, you know, what is your advice for organizations and nonprofits and businesses going into next year in terms of thinking virtual and bringing potentially SkeeterBuggins Productions or another production company to the table?
I think the first thing you have to think about is focus on the reach. This is an opportunity to expand how far your company can go. And when you expand your reach, there's more eyes on what your company or organization is doing. It's not just limited, like say a gala, or let's talk about Flywheel. There's only 300 people that were attending in person that event. You guys hit 5 times that on that day. And I remember being backstage after the initial event, all those investors were getting calls from people, and a lot of them were in Seattle. People were tuning in to see it, actually all across the Western U.S. And that's what makes streaming and tacking that onto your events so tremendous. It can only help you. It doesn't hurt you. I think that's the biggest thing. People get scared of it, and it's a tool. It's an extra tool. You can only benefit from it.
So I know some of us have had the mentality of, well, next year everything will be different. We'll go back to normal. For those who are waiting for that in-person event to just be back to the business as usual, what do you challenge them to consider going into 2021?
The future is now.
Yeah.
I'm of the belief the virtual side of things is here to stay. Now, I think a hybrid model is going to come where you have the in-person, you have the virtual, but I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, you're seeing it by all the companies out there that are pivoting. Like Disney recently, they had a movie that came out, they released it strictly on their platform. everyone's making that full-on pivot. And I think to not accept that the future is now, dare I say, is kind of foolish on your part. Be forward-thinking. There's nothing wrong with it.
Well, that's great advice, and thank you, Jarod, for coming on air to share your story. Where can people get in contact with you?
You can come to my website at www.SkeeterBuggins.com.
And you go outside the area? You're not just in North Central Washington?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, we go anywhere, as you saw. We go Spokane. We do a lot of stuff in Seattle, here in NCW. So.
Awesome. Well, Jarod is a fantastic resource with SkeeterBuggins Productions. Thank you for being on air, and join us back here at the on the NCW Live channel. We'll be back next week.
Since 1999, GWATA has served as North Central Washington's Tech Alliance. As a 501c3, our mission is to bring people and technology resources together to create a thriving community. Through our work, we aim to inspire, engage, and connect.